All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I have so much to talk about today. I'll try and get through it as quickly as possible. Of course, you can always participate in the chat section. We got the chat section right over here on this side. So you can participate in the chat section. This is again on the spot streaming. It's almost 11 o'clock where I live. And so I'm trying to keep it brief as well. And those of you who can listen in, awesome. Those of you who can't, that's okay as well. So I am right now on Facebook as I am doing this video. And I got a whole bunch of stuff, as you can see from the title heading, Krypton, Gladiator, and the DCEU, and some other topics. You guys feel free to jump in. There's some DCEU news from Zack Snyder. He was talking about how Supergirl actually is it's actually hinted in. I'm not too sure if it's BVS or Man of Steel. He says it's in plain sight, so that should be awesome. He said the open pod is not necessarily about Supergirl coming out of the open pod, so that's very interesting as well. Um, in the prequel comics, we assumed it was Supergirl. We'll see. I don't know. I got a whole bunch of other things I am doing at the same time while I'm doing this video. Those of you who want to join in the discussion, I can private message you the link to this Hangout so that you can actually join the Hangout. And I'm going to go through a couple of things here which should interest you and all of you, actually. So we'll try and have a little good time with you guys here today. So I'm still home. I'm going to go out and work, and then I have to go and visit someone, a family, a relative, hopefully this afternoon, as well as pay a couple other bills. I just wanted to just make a very important point. You guys, if you want to donate to me, my channel, what I do, you can do so through Western Union or MoneyGram. I can give you the details of my information. You will have to still supply some information once you send it via one of those routes. So let's get into the discussion today on these very interesting topics. You have Krypton, you got Gladiator, you got the DCEU, some other topics in the DCEU. I just told you guys about Zack Snyder, and there's a hint somewhere inside of either Batman v Superman or Man of Steel, which hints to Kara-El actually being present somewhere in that universe. So that's really cool to know, and I'm definitely going to go digging and searching for it. If you guys find it before I do, great, share it with us, all right? And if you've already found it, put it in the comment section, which is over there. You can comment in the comment section. Now, this is early in the morning. Some of you guys are at work. Some of you are different places. Give me a shout out, just at least shout out to let me know that you're on this feed, and just do it in the chat section right over there. All right. Okay, let's get into what we're going to talk about. But first, I always start with scripture. As a Christian brother, I like to ground things in scripture. Today it's Psalms 112 once again, but this time it comes from the very first opening of the psalm. It says, "Praise the Lord. Blessed is the man that fears the Lord, that delights greatly in his commands. His seed shall be mighty upon the earth. The generation of the upright shall be blessed. Wealth and riches shall be in his house, and his righteousness shall endure forever. Unto the upright there shall arise a light in darkness." Love that. "He is gracious and full of compassion and righteous. A good man shows favor and lends. He will guide his affairs with discretion. He shall not be moved forever. The righteousness shall be an everlasting remembrance." And just to go into that very quickly, there's so much to unpack there that I'm just going to use one thing I'm going to focus on. And that, for me, that struck me very highly is that his seed shall be mighty upon the earth. And a lot of times we think of seed as your children, the inheritance that you have. But for me, the seed is the word of God sown into other people, so that everything that you say has an impact on people around you. And according to this, it says it will be mighty. So I looked at it in a different context. Everything you do has an impact on other people. Whatever platform you are given, it has an impact on other people. And so it's very important that we conduct ourselves in the right manner or the right spirit. And that's why I had to apologize for what I said, because I don't want other people just bashing movies. That sets in motion and makes people feel that it's okay to just trash things and curse out people, and that's not right. So the manner and the attitude in which we conduct ourselves is very important, because the seed that comes from us, the word that comes from us, our attitude, our disposition, other people will look at it and reflect that. And so that's what I wanted to talk about. And I thought that was a very important point from scripture that I wanted to share with you guys, which is practical every day, because we're here to influence communities. We're here to try and elevate people around us and ourselves at the same time. All right, let's get into what we want to talk about. First of all, I want to show you guys something. So I'm going to change my view here on this screen. I'm going to go to screen share for a minute. So I'm in screen share right now. So things are going to look a little funky. Don't worry about it. You're going to see Facebook in front of you. You're going to see my laptop screen. And then finally, I get to what I want to talk to you guys about. First of all, I want to talk about the similarities between Gladiator and the DCEU for a minute. All right. And you guys can just go ahead, talk all kinds of stuff in the chat area. I'm really cool. It'll be really cool to see what you have to talk about. And we'll actually fuel some of our discussion here based on the topics you have in the chat section. So go ahead and chat away in the chat section about whatever you want to talk about, or you can even you can chat about what I'm showing right now in this video. All right, guys. Now, I know some of you guys are at work right now. I have my own schedule because I'm my own boss. So I'm able to do some advertising on the side. I'm able to go out there, sell some water. That's what I basically sell these days. And I'm also able to do other things. So that's why I have this little flexibility, plasticity in time. I'm also looking to make money off of these videos by you guys donating to me if you think it's worth the while. Of course, if you don't have the money, don't donate, please. Don't do that. But I just want to add something, more importantly, virtues to each and every one of you as a Christian. That's my thing. That's what it's all about. All right. So what's beautiful here, I want to share with you guys, is that actually this movie has a lot in common. The DCU has a lot in common with Gladiator. And right now, I just want to show you some of the similarities. So in Man of Steel, if you do remember, General Zod stabbed Jor-El. I believe it was under the 5th rib, killing him. He stabbed him in the heart. And to be able to do that, the heart is located on the left side underneath the 5th rib. So if you go upwards underneath the 5th rib, you probably will puncture the heart that's beating inside of your chest cavity. It'll go through some muscle first and then puncture your heart. And that's something that's biblical, actually. You can go and read in the Bible how guys used to actually do that. And it's an ancient thing. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not necessarily biblical, but it's ancient. Not only found in the Bible, it's found in many other books. And it's an ancient way of killing people. General Zod's device looks like a knife, stabbing device, but I find it's very specialized, and it reminds us of this Krypton we are on. This is not on Earth. I thought it was very interesting that he had this extra device to stab people with, to impale them, and he used that device to kill Jor-El. He didn't instantaneously kill him, but he killed him rather quickly still. And just the manner in which Jor-El fell to the ground is very reminiscent of Gladiator. Okay, and I'll show you what I mean in a minute. Also, the other interesting thing was that Laura Vance, she goes to the side of the fallen Jor-El, and as she's mourning him and mourning the fact that he's there, and she's kind of shocked and everything, she's at his side. Now, it's very interesting that in Gladiator, that this movie takes things from Gladiator. In Gladiator, a very similar thing happened. Commodus stabbed Maximus under the 5th rib as well. But he slowly caused him to bleed. So he stabbed him through his side with a less long and sharp device, a knife, but a smaller knife. So it caused him to start bleeding blood. I don't know if it was a major artery. More likely it was his heart that was punctured, but not completely. So he was mortally wounded, but he was slowly dying. And it's very interesting. There are a number of other things I want to say. What I want to say is the combination. Gladiator is the combination of Man of Steel and BVS. All right, it's the combination of those two movies. But what is very interesting is the manner in which Commodus stabbed Maximus is very much the same manner in which General Zod stabbed Jor-El. And I'll tell you the significance of that in a minute. And then very interestingly, we see that Maximus comes back to stab Commodus with a knife as well, but this time in his throat, through his throat, killing him. Okay. And it reminds us again of that great theme uh that movie, I forgot what the name of the movie is, that Zack Snyder pitted Superman versus Doomsday or reincarnated Zod on. It's not coming to me. You guys know what I'm talking about. Excalibur, that's the name of the movie, where both people impaled each other. And in this case, Maximus comes to return the favor to Commodus, impaling him and killing him. But what's very interesting about that, in addition, is the fact that Maximus falls to the ground, and he's falling in a very similar manner to the copycat movie Man of Steel, where Jor-El is also falling to the ground. Very similar manner. Okay. And remember this, he falls to the ground and he dies because of Commodus's stabbing into his side, which is a longer duration than with General Zod, but nonetheless, it is very similar how he falls and everything. And I thought Zack Snyder and company decided to feed off of the inspiration from Gladiator in the death of Jor-El, as the actor who played both Jor-El and Maximus was the same actor. And I thought it was very interesting that he used the same sort of theme as a method. And he falls here dead. And it's very interesting that here Maximus falls in very much the same manner he falls dead. So I thought it was just beautiful parallels. And then Lucilla, who is Caesar's daughter, at least the deceased Caesar, the murdered Caesar, Marcus Aurelius, his daughter Lucilla, she sits with the dying Maximus here, and she's talking to him. And that luxury was not given to Lara Lorvan. It wasn't given to her when Jor-El died. So I found these really wonderful, rich parallels. Now, with the additional element of Excalibur, where Maximus comes and stabs Commodus, Commodus comes and stabs Maximus, we see Excalibur actually in Man of Steel, in Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, where Superman, which is Jor-El's son, returns the favor of stabbing Doomsday first. He's the first one to stab Doomsday here, okay? And then Doomsday returns the favor by stabbing Superman, both in their chest, unlike what happened in Gladiator. And I found that this Excalibur moment is actually a moment that actually happened in Gladiator as well. But not simultaneously, but nonetheless, it happened in Gladiator. And so some people say, well, Zack Snyder fed off of Excalibur, but I can also argue that he probably fed off of the whole trilogy of, Jor-El being killed by General Zod being killed by Kal-El, and then they come back, and then Kal-El kills General Zod, and a reincarnated version of him, Doomsday, and then Doomsday comes back and kills Kal-El. We can argue that that is actually from Gladiator. Gladiator actually influences that. And again, the manner in which this tragedy happens, which is very much like Gladiator, which you could argue Gladiator feeds off of Excalibur, but I don't agree with that because Gladiator came before Excalibur, if you think about it. Excalibur was much later on in history than Gladiator was. So I think that Zack Snyder fed off of Ridley Scott's beautiful story of Gladiator, which is a very deep, very emotional, but yet at the same time, very ideological movie. And that's what makes it so beautiful. I always tell people, emotion is empty if you don't have some ideal someone is striving towards. I think what makes a movie beautiful, like Guardians of the Galaxy with Yundo, or like Superman's story from Man of Steel to BVS, or his entire story, the return of Superman in Justice League, or even stories such as Gladiator or The Matrix. What makes, or Wonder Woman, what makes these movies so touching is the gravity. If you don't have the gravity along with the emotion is empty. I've said this a number of times, and then detractors of the DCU would use that against the DCU as if the emotion has fallen flat, but they know very well the gravity. And it's strange that the MCU is actually devoid of that in Infinity War to the most extent. We have over dramatization of emotion, but they play with it with comedy. And I find it falls short for me. I don't feel any impact. There's no tears welling up in my mind. But Gladiator, the themes, and just, it's a lot of Shakespearean stuff. And they really do a great job of the themes having gravity. That's the thing that made Wonder Woman so wonderful. That's the thing that made Justice League so wonderful. Justice League is not a comedy. Wonder Woman is not a comedy. There are some comical elements in them, but the gravity of the situation, the gravity of Steppenwolf coming, the gravity of Ares, the gravity of mankind and the evils and the ills that they did in Wonder Woman, the gravity of a nation, a state going down into barbaric ruins in Gladiator, the gravity of Black Panther, the weight of having to lead a peoples and sort of feeling that you are lacking, and then you realize the traditions, some of them are filled with lies in them. You know, the gravity of a story, Captain America the First Avenger, the gravity of leading, the gravity and the desire by this young man to make an impact on the world, having the body but yet having to learn in the process of doing this, and finally sacrificing his life in the process, and those he loved, you know, his relationships. Those stories have impact. So when I talk about Captain America the First Avenger, I know what I'm talking about. It's not the Winter Soldier. As much as people want to talk about the Winter Soldier is great, I think that Captain America the First Avenger really is the greatest of the Captain America franchise films. And I can go into it in great detail because of the gravity of the situation, the emotion. You actually want to cry in Captain America the First Avenger. You will find yourself tearing up because they have taken their time to build that emotional element around an ideology. Just emotion, people just tearing up and crying. People can cry for different reasons. There are tricksters and people who cry for different reasons. And so tearing up is not enough, or seeing a character suffer is not enough. It must be for a reason. It must be for something that supersedes that character. That's something that is greater than that character. And that's what makes for great emotional weight and great emotional drama. That's what I like to explain to people. So in the case of Maximus dying, or Superman dying, or any other character dying, I think that that's the kind of thing I focus on. So when we're looking at, you know, they borrowed from that, and you can see Superman's death. Again, we have the parallels with Superman's lying on the ground, just like with, you know, when you're dead, you lie on the ground, okay? And then you have, of course, Lois Lane sitting next to the dead Kal-El. So you see the combination of this throughout. You see it with Jor-El and Laura Van. You see it with Maximus and Lucilla. And now you see it with Lewis and Clark, or Kal-El. Okay, there's the parallels right there. And so I just find this really beautiful, how they really pulled from Gladiator, a really outstanding movie done by Ridley Scott. And interestingly, the score for Gladiator, the score for Man of Steel, and the score for Batman v Superman were all done by Hans Zimmer. So he's the one that kind of creates that impact, that emotional impact that you need in the movies. And it's just amazing. Even, I have to say, I got chills, I got goose pimples when Luke Skywalker spoke about the fact that the resistance is not over, and I am not the last Jedi. I actually got goose pimples when he said that to Kylo Ren. And then we see they shoot to I forgot what her name is, but the girl who has the Jedi powers and stuff, and how she, you know, the torch was passed to her, and how Princess Leia passes the torch to the younger generation. It gave me goose pimples. And it's because these movies, there's this depth of meaning and how they challenge the ideals, how they challenge the idea, you know. And all of these movies speak about freedom, and freedom within limits, but freedom to choose, to dictate where you want to go. That ideology is very much prominent. And if you think in a Christocentric way, that ideology of choice, of freedom, that God sets us free to choose where we want to go, what we really want to do. We're not slaves to anything. It's beautiful. And as a Christian, that's what I love, and I cherish that. And when I see like-minded people like that, I really love to embrace them with open arms. So I find that these ideologies are so important, and children, the younger children, need to have these ideologies. I thought that Wonder Woman did a beautiful job of showing children, the younger ones, that it's us, it's up to us to embrace that decision of how we want to proceed with things, understanding the moral fabric and the ethics behind it. And I thought that Wonder Woman did a great job of saying, I, as a superhero, cannot do it alone. And again, Justice League also encapsulates this value of you cannot save the world alone. We have to work together to really create that impact as communities, as homes, as families. And so I just thought these are beautiful things for us to believe and embrace as we move forward. The other similarities between Gladiator and the DCU are really beautiful because, again, I believe that the feminist movement and feminism is in and of itself, in the pureness of itself, a beautiful thing. And hopefully feminism will disappear soon and we won't have to deal with feminism anymore because there will be no struggle between the genders and sexes for equality and equal opportunity. I think that's the major thing behind feminism. And before Wonder Woman came about and we saw a great leader, a great royal leader working in tandem with the Senate, we actually had it in Gladiator, where Lucilla, she steps up to the plate now that Commodus is dead. He was the Caesar. She now takes on the mantle. She will never be called Caesar, but she will stand in the gap as a Caesar preparer for Lucius. And Lucilla stands up strong after the death of Maximus. And she's crying, she's mourning for him, and yet she's happy for him, and yet she mourns the fact that he's gone. And she takes that brief moment, and then you see a reset. And she stands like the leader that she is. And she says to Senator Gracchus, she says this to him. And I find it powerful. And, Connie Nielsen is just a very impressive presence on the screen. No matter what, I have the ultimate respect for her as an actor because she has that presence. She's intellectually, she's a giant intellectually, in my opinion. But the other thing that I think is incredible about her is that the presence she has on the screen. You can believe that she's leading. And Lucilla in the movie of Gladiator, who becomes the current leader of Rome because her brother is dead. And even though Senator Gracchus is appointed to lead the Senate, because he was the leader of the Senate, he was banished or exiled, and he was reappointed through Maximus, who was dying. He relayed the wishes of Marcus Aurelius. And Marcus Aurelius had this intuition that Lucilla at some point would be, he said you would make a great Caesar, he told her. And he said to her, well, would you have been just? And that was his question. And in Marcus Aurelius's murder, which Lucilla was privy to that information along with Maximus, she was not able to, because she was not able to really resist Commodus until much later on. She decided to resist, and she was using tact and she knew how to. She understood the inner workings of the politics of Rome and how you needed to work with the Senate. And you see that Lucilla, she becomes this leader. And it's really interesting that they really cast Connie Nielsen for Wonder Woman because she was the perfect Hippolyta, having that understanding of the crown working along with the Senate, that absolute power and authority was not in one place, that the crown must work along with the Senate. The Senate was a representation of the people. And so even though that was kind of corrupted in Rome, it was just interesting in hearing Lucilla step up to the table. And she said, is Rome worth one good man's life? We believe it once, make us believe it again. She's saying this to Senator Gracchus. And she was Hippolyta, queen of Themyscira, in Wonder Woman. And from the background information I learned from Connie Nielsen, that queen wasn't just, by inheritance became queen. No, she was nominated. She was elected as queen by the Senate to lead the Amazons. And so it's really interesting that we have the Senate and we have the queen in Wonder Woman. And that's the same model off of Rome itself, where Connie Nielsen's character Lucilla actually becomes the leader, the foremost leader of Rome in the stead of Lucius, because she's the guy for Lucius, to direct Lucius. She's acting instead. She's like the temporary, she's not Caesar, but she's like the temporary ruler of Rome, because Caesar couldn't be a woman. She was the temporary leader of Rome in the place of Lucius until Lucius was old enough to be Caesar of Rome. And I thought this was just incredible, just to watch it, the birth of Rome and the birth of the idea of what we pattern ourselves after. Any republic in the world today patterns itself after that. And now we, instead of having a Caesar, we have what is called a president or a prime minister. What's beautiful about this is when we look at even her statements, she's now giving out her directives, and she turns to everyone inside of the Colosseum, and she says about concerning Maximus, he was a soldier of Rome, honor him. So she commands them to honor him. She is the leader now. Since Lucius, her son, is too young to be Caesar, she instructs what is to be done in Rome. She is the leader of Rome now. And it's interesting that that statement, he was a soldier of Rome, honor him, was actually taken by Chris Terrio, and he used it in Batman v Superman, almost verbatim, where Diana says to Bruce Wayne, they don't know how to honor him, that's Superman, except as a soldier. And I thought that reference to Gladiator was just beautiful. And it's a direct reference to Gladiator. You won't find that every place. Trust me, you won't. I thought, again, another powerful woman in Wonder Woman. She's like the current day ambassador for the Amazons, because she's now in the world of men. There are other Amazons probably that left Amazonia and are in the world of men as well, but I don't know about them. And then even more interesting is the fact that when we look at, as I said before, Rome's power, it's shared between the Caesar and the Senate, which represents the people. Lucilla now acting as, you got to excuse me, let me get this back. Lucilla now acting in Caesar's stead until Lucius is old enough. And so I thought that was just really awesome as she stands up to speak to Rome and all the people in the Colosseum, which had become more barbaric. And the difference between Rome and Germania was known as the barbarians. And Rome was known as civilization, civilized and cultured. And they appreciated the arts and so on. And they decided to have representation of the people, and people have equal voice. And this was what Rome was supposed to be. So you see Themyscira also having that civilization and the working in tandem. It's beautiful to watch how these women work with each other. That the leaders of the military would work along with the leaders of the Senate, which would work along with the Queen, which would work along with the leaders in different areas of business and agriculture and style and clothing and so on, and how simple they were in their existence and how they worked in unison with each other. I found it just fantastic. But then again, they were the ones to bring love to the world, so it makes sense. They didn't specifically speak about the god of Aphrodite. And I think Zack Snyder and Patty Jenkins probably left that out for a certain reason. But I find it sort of like not a utopian existence. I wouldn't call it that. But I found that their existence, their balance between nature and everything being just so beautiful, you know. And it reminds us of what the ideals that Rome was striving for. They never really quite made it or reached it. But that was what they were striving for. And Maximus Aurelius basically captured the essence of that. He was a farmer. He was a simple person who lived in harmony with nature. You even see at the beginning of Gladiator, he's watching at the butterfly in the midst of the mess and the carnage and the war. And this is what he was fighting for. He was fighting for an idea where people could be free, where people could do what they desired, but at the same time, they would live in harmony with everything. It's kind of sad that through war, that's how you would do it. But and I believe that there are so many other parallels I want to show you guys. So let me just show you this parallel here between Maximus Aurelius and Kal-El. Kal-El, also known as Superman. I hope this thing would clear up. Would you clear up, please? Clear up, please. For some reason, it's not resolving. Sometimes that happens with these things. Oh, there you go. One of the beautiful things about it is Maximus. He was a farmer. And guess what? Kal-El was raised in Middle America as Clark Kent, and he grew up on a farm. And I found that these parallels between these characters are just so wonderful. And you can extend your parallels further outward. But it's interesting that Maximus believed in an ideal about Rome, and he was loyal to that. And Superman believed in the ideal that his father told him about the coexistence between man and Kryptonians. And again, he lived that ideal and he died for that ideal, like Maximus did. And so I just find it interesting. Maximus was considered a good man, and so was Superman. And so I'm just looking at the parallels on a deeper, more fundamental level. If you guys have other statements you want to make, please join in. And again, have a lively chat section. I'll be back in that chat section in a minute. But I just wanted to highlight these particular things about these movies. All right, let me get back into here. Let me stop this screen share. You guys can. All right, you guys see me now. All right. So if you got any comments, please leave it in the chat section. I'm going to check out the chat section right now. Okay. I'm checking you guys out right now. Let's see here. All right. R2 Limited. I just got back from school, watching on the phone, turning to the laptop currently. Okay. Watching from the laptop now. Did you forget BVS? Did I forget BVS? No, I didn't forget BVS. I just talked about Superman's, the Excalibur event that happened on BVS where Superman impales General Zod, and General Zod, at least a reincarnation of him, Doomsday, impales Superman. I think I talked about that. You can always look at it earlier on in this video concerning that. But it's nice to see you, R2. If you want to join the chat, we can join the chat. It's 11:21. I've got to leave at around 12 and try and get some things done. But yes, I wanted to talk a little bit about how Gladiator links up with the DCEU. And there's a number of other things that I wanted to point out between Gladiator and the DCEU, and just how I believe that the creators of the DCEU, how they took pieces from there. So that was a comparison between Gladiator and Wonder Woman, comparison between Gladiator and Man of Steel, comparison between Gladiator and Batman v Superman. I'm pretty sure we would get comparisons between Gladiator and maybe even Justice League. I'll have to look and see. But I find this very interesting. You forgot what BVS was called when you described Superman versus Doomsday fight. No, I told you it's an Excalibur. It was an Excalibur scene. Just a minute, folks. You're gonna have to hold for a second. Let me just mute my microphone. Someone is calling me. Let me just mute this. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I just got an update about a family member who is in the hospital. So please send your prayers to them and your well wishes. I'm going to try and get down there as soon as I can today. That's a priority for me. Um, I was just talking about that. I want to talk about a whole bunch of other things. Let me see what R2 is saying here, and anybody else who wants to join. Woo! We got a lot of people up in here. You forgot what BBS was called when you described Superman versus Doomsday fight. William Muir says, yo, William Muir. R2 Lemon says, going back. Right. Yeah. Excalibur. Yeah, I talked about Excalibur, but I wanted to show that there was another inspiration there, which had to do with Gladiator. R2 Lemon. Sorry about being away so long. William Muir, my boy, what's up, man? I hope everything's good with you. If you guys are enjoying this video, don't forget to throw in a little like somewhere. You know, we try to keep it real up in this site. You know how it is. I wanted to show you guys a couple other things, but let's talk a little bit about Krypton. How many of you guys saw Krypton? Man, Krypton was crazy. Woo! Krypton is crazy. Krypton is crazy. Now, you have to get used to the TV style, and there's some jokes that just don't work, but man. So in this episode of Krypton, Jaina Zod, she's on the run because Brainiac, or the agent of Brainiac, let me say, is now there in Krypton. Darren Vex, he's just trying to save his tail, and he does whatever to save his tail. So he's right now, you know, he's a double agent all the time. He's an agent of Brainiac right now. And man, this thing is crazy. Brainiac's taken over some of the minds of some of the people. Let them choose to follow him or not. If you don't follow him, you're dead. And it's just crazy, man, how this whole story is unfolding. You know, Zod, they have a curfew, of course. Zod, and Jaina is considered now one of the treasonous people. She had to hide. Eventually, she and her daughter come together. Of course, they speak a little bit about what the sacrifice she made to destroy. She put herself in shame. And now they're all coalesced together. We got Seg, we got Jaina, we got Nyssa, we got General Zod, and we got, oh boy, what's his name? The tavern guy, the bar guy. He's there with them as well. It's crazy, man. And, you know, they tried to formulate a plan to stop Brainiac, you know, by exposing him. And that ain't gonna work, man. Brainiac was like straight up, you know, the agent of Brainiac shows them that he transcended, and, you know, he's bringing peace to the place. So everybody's all happy and everything. And everybody's like, what the heck? And then on top of that, this is great. This is a crazy movie, man. It's a crazy television series. We are realizing now that Adam Strange, he's trying to kill General Zod, and he's trying to prevent Segel from Kandor being saved. That was just nuts. Why would you do something crazy like that? But that's what they're doing. And, you know, oh man, it's just, you know, hearing Val-El, the computer generated image of Val-El tried to, you know, help Adam come to the conclusion he needs to come to, and Adam comes up with a crazy notion, and Adam seems to not be, well, as he said, he's not really a great superhero. So, man, Krypton is just blowing my mind, and it ends, and hey, the special effects are not bad at all for a television series. That special effects is dope, and man, oh my gosh, Krypton is blowing my mind right now. You know, sometimes I don't even know what to think, you know, because of all these plot twists and stuff. And then what I love about this television series is there's meaning behind everything. What do I mean by that? Take, for instance, when we look at, you know, we see that Darren Vex, he's willing to kill his own daughter. All right. And it's kind of funny because just recently there in Infinity War, we saw Thanos, and he was watching to see if Gamora had any feelings for him. Right. And you know what's the weird thing? Thanos and they have that the reality stone, they call it. So you see this thing. But Nyssa Vex, we knew from since the last Krypton series that Nyssa Vex, she had all of these holograms that she would use to try on clothing to see how she looked, right? And it's just crazy how she uses that hologram to basically psych out her dad to realize this dude don't care about, he would kill me, man. And it's just crazy, man. There's more revelations about Nyssa Vex. She's going to learn a lot more about herself. But we learned that she actually was trained in combat. She actually can fight. Because I was like, well, what the hell? And then you hear her talk to Segel, and she's in. But here's the inherent values inside of this movie that I really enjoy. some stuff that I really enjoy that's inherent value. So we see that enlightenment, not all enlightenment is good, but we see that not Darren Vex, Dev M, man, that's one thing that may hurt me, man. Dev M, he's basically, he was a agent now of the agent of Brainiac, and Dev M, he chose to be that, and he saw this enlightenment. And again, everything that Dev M said pretty much makes sense until he gives the ultimatum of annihilation, like I'm gonna annihilate you if you don't join me, which is not cool. And he's got super speed, he's got super strength, the things that Superman had and Wonder Woman. We see now he has super speed, super strength. He can duck bullets and stuff, like how Superman ducked the missile that Cyborg sent him. And I just thought this was so cool to see this in a television series. Like, they're taking things from the DCEU and they're actually bringing it to the table in television series. And it makes sense because David Goyer did write the script for Justice League. He had something to do with that. Of course, Chris Terrio is mostly responsible for Justice League and Joss Whedon. But the point is, actually they seem to have laid out that trilogy blueprint a long time ago. They actually had it in the works. And it seems as though all of that was part of David Goyer, was part of that process. So it's not surprising that we see in sci-fi that, that David Goyer spin right there. And man, let's talk about virtue in this movie, in this television series, because it's a television series. Man, I can't believe it's a television series. I keep on calling it a movie. It's not a movie. I can tell it's not a movie, but man, it's on a level higher than anything I've seen on Netflix and anything I've seen on the CW. I think it's really there. It's pretty top notch when it comes to TV, even though I still think that it's not as grounded as it should be. You can feel those fantastical elements of suspension of reality, but the plot's pretty good, man. And it keeps on twisting, man. And let's talk about some of the values that we saw. The first one, before I go into that, though, it's very entertaining to watch Jaina Zod stare down Drew Zod. It was hella entertaining. She's just staring him down like that. I was like, wow, that was very entertaining. But let's talk about some values. The first thing we learn is, in a rebellion, we have to pit the enemy against themselves. We always have to use the weapons that the enemy has, especially the spiritists, against them. So Segal's plan was really a really good one to get people to mobilize against Brainiac. And that was to basically expose his hand, make him expose his hand. The thing about it is, like, Brainiac anticipated that, man. And one of his followers actually said, he's not human anymore. And the dude was like, I transcend. And he went into the fire and it hovered over the people as a deity. And I was like, dang, and then he goes and tells them what they want to hear, that there's no longer a caste system. There's no longer a gilded system. Everybody's on the same level. Everybody's happy to hear that, even though he has nefarious reasons and he has a nefarious plan, for Krypton. Dang, man, how you go against that? And I thought that spoke in the wheel. I was like, I didn't see that coming. But in a rebellion, that's what actually happens. Sometimes, if you look at what's happening in American politics, you see it where they spin it. And then this guy got the power to spin anything, and just roll with it. And it was just crazy to see how he spun that and worked it in his favor. He's like, I didn't deny I have alien presence in me. I have transcended. And he rises up in the sky with all that fire and stuff, and he looks glorious. And all the people are watching, and then he says something good to them. There's no more casted, no more gilded. I'm going to talk to the rankless. And I think how Donald Trump so cleverly and skillfully appealed to people who were not being counted in the political system, and they were not really being respected, and nobody was talking about them. And he appealed to them, and that's how he got them on his side. And you see that with Brainiac, and I can tell David Goyer is looking at things in all real world and putting it into that movie, and it's so advanced. And I love that. I really do. It's showing how a rebellion, a spoke in a rebellion's wheel, can happen very quickly, and showing how politics can be worked. And the other thing I thought was very interesting was looking at how Jaina Zod, she got out of the city. And she went, a refuge. And if you look, there's a big cross where she is. And that's symbolic of so many things. I won't go there, but she crossing over and stuff. And then the interesting thing about the heritage of Darren Vex is he's actually has a heritage where his parents actually worshipped the ice goddess, Symphona, Simona. I can't remember what her name was. Synthona, the Synthonians. And it's interesting, the Synthonians are there underground, and they're trying to protect against doomsday. And it's just interesting how, are the Synthonians good or bad? We don't know. Now we know Synthonians generally were bad in the comics. So I'm very interested in where David Goyer is going with this. And there's just so much to say about Krypton in content, because the Synthonians seem to be right now, the perception of them is they're actually rational and gatekeepers, and they were exiled, it seems, unfairly. It seems that way. And, you know, Synthona seems to be the mother of Krypton. This is what it appears like right now. We don't know. General Zod looks like he's the savior for Krypton, and savior particularly of Kandor. I heard them mention other cities out of Kandor, but it looks like he's a savior right now. And in the context of what he's doing and what he's striving to do, it seems, of course, he's very extreme. He says, if we have to go down in a blaze of glory, so be it. Like Zod was ready to just duke it out right there with Brainiac. I was like, and the other guy, what's his name? I forgot his name. The bar guy. He was like, I ain't ready to give my life like that, because he's not a Zod, right? So it's really funny in that respect. And again, looking at them work together. Again, trust. Nyssa Vex, she's learned how to manipulate people and cut down people and stuff, and now she's joined this league, and they don't know how to trust her. And Seg stands in the gap, and he's saying, like, my name's on my name. I put up my name that she's trustworthy, and that's kind of really cool. If you don't trust her, trust me, you know, that kind of line. And I find some of these lines very unique and very different as well. So substance, we see that everybody, and I love how Seg said, everybody here is dirty. Everybody here has done something wrong. So let's not be self-righteous at this time. We need each other. I like that. And it teaches us in communities, we need to learn to forgive one another and get to the task at hand and work together. The people who are least trustworthy, and this is actually a lesson for me as well, opportunists. Sometimes we need them on our side. And yes, they may fall into being opportunists, and it's a risk we have to take. But sometimes we just put checks and balances for them so that they can become better people, because this is bigger than any one of us. And I feel like that's just so dope that they put that in Krypton, you know. And man, it's just, I love that when movies have substance behind them, I can really rock with the movie. You know, sometimes the cinematography is not the best cinematography in the world. Sometimes you have to suspend your belief. You know, Krypton has that kind of element in it, you know, because sometimes you can see the set designs. You know, you can see, oh, okay, this is a set, this is a set, this is a set, but it's TV, so okay, we'll give it a bly. You know, CSI, I find, is it has different set pieces, but it still grounds you in reality. So when you watch a CSI or a Law and Order, you feel like it's a real world thing. Krypton feels like a real world to some degree, but again, it feels sometimes like it's just suspension of fantasy. And some of the statements they make, you know, where Adam Strange was talking about, you know, Superman's called all these different names, got all these aliases and stuff. And I love how Val-El kind of talks to him about what a hero really is. A hero is not about somebody who serves themselves, and they love people. They want to help other people. That's what really makes it heroic. And each of you can be a hero to someone by helping other people. And again, another nice lesson, a nice little nugget in there. There's lots of nuggets in there. And there's lots of parallels, again, between that and the DCEU. I'll go into that some other time. But I just thought that Krypton, man, they keep on ending on these, I wouldn't call them cliffhangers per se. And I could see how the MCU, how they tried to do that with Infinity War, I thought with great failure. They fell flat because they never, you see, as I said before to you guys, with Gladiator, Man of Steel, and just in Wonder Woman, Black Panther, there's ideals, there's an ideology there. You to get that emotional weight you need in your characters, you need to have an ideology. It's not enough to just stop a big baddie. You got to tell something more in the story. And that's the beauty of Wonder Woman. That's the beauty of Black Panther. That's the beauty of Captain America, the First Avenger. That's the beauty of Justice League, and, you know, Batman v Superman, and Man of Steel, and even Suicide Squad has that deeper moment that they would be building throughout the movie, to where it says, okay, we're rotten. We got to own up to our rottenness. You know, we have to own up to the fact that we're pieces of shit. And then they move from that and say, but you know what? After you own that, understand that you're still beautiful. You're still beautiful. You have to encourage yourself. And I thought that was really deep. And then that helps to bond Diablo with the rest of the team. And you can be flawed but beautiful, right? CW shows aren't very good anymore. I've stopped watching most of them, but Krypton is working better as it's not dependent on relationship dramas like Arrow and The Flash are now. Man, Krypton's got a lot of relationships. There's a lot of crazy shit going on in Krypton, but what I like about Krypton is it's more adult, in my opinion. It's much more catering to an adult audience, and there are so many themes inside of Krypton. It's not just a series of events happening, but it's actually relevant to our times, relevant to a world, things we can actually embrace to build our communities, to build each other. And that's what I love about Krypton. R2 Limited, we're about to hit 12 o'clock. And I had to stop. If you want to join this Google Hangout, just type it in the comment section there that you want to join, and I'll try and get a link to you privately. William Miranda, if you want to also join this Hangout, I love to have other voices in there to discuss this, you know. So, yeah, but in Krypton, they are better balanced. The thing about Krypton, I think, is it's not really about, they're not trying to be dramatic just for dramatic sake. The thing with Krypton is, like you were saying, R2, is that there's ideologies going on in Krypton. And when you take emotion and you combine it with ideology, you know, when I thought about Star Trek, when I used to watch the Star Trek television series with the guy who plays Xavier. He was the guy, Jean-Luc Picard, he was called in Star Trek. It was an entire drama. It was only about drama, but ideologies made that movie, that made that television series a fantastic television series. When you look at Knight Rider, the original Knight Rider, the ideology behind Michael Long and becoming Michael Knight and what he represented and why that story was, the ideology of the character was crystallized so that we actually enjoyed Knight Rider. When you look at television shows like The Incredible Hulk back in the 70s, early 80s, and then early 90s, and then late 80s, again, there was an ideology behind it. That David Banner or Bruce Banner, he was on this journey, and this journey to find a cure for himself. But in the process, as a traveler, he would do this good for different people, even though he was a monster. And it's crazy. It's a paradox because monsters don't generally do anything good, except on Sesame Street, where you had Cookie Monster and stuff. But the ideology of showing that a monster could be good, could be gentle, could be kind, was beautiful. And it's conceptual films that stand the test of time. And then when you have emotion tied in with that concept, it's beautiful. Why Wonder Woman works is because the ideology of the general that died, I forgot what her name is right now. I just drew a blank. It's really crazy. Hippolyta, it was the queen, and her sister believed that Diana would be that tool that would help the Amazons. She believed it so strongly that even when she was hurt, she did not feel her pain. She was seeing the potential that Diana had to impact the world. And on her dying breath, she says, go. You need to leave. You need to go. You're ready. And it's just incredible how, as a mentor, even though she's dying, and even her death, her sacrifice is to protect that tool, that potential to change the world. And that's what makes these movies meaningful. You have to have an ideology behind the emotion. So that when Antiope, that's her name, when Antiope died, that Robin Williams played so excellently, not Robin Williams. She's not Robin Williams. Robin Williams is a comedian. Robin Wright. When she plays so excellently, when Antiope dies, you do feel it. It shocks you and is an impact on you. It's not empty emotion. There is an ideology behind it. There's an ideal to strive towards that's bigger than Antiope, that's bigger than Hippolyta, that's bigger than Diana. And that's what makes these movies timeless. And there are ideologies and communities that are bigger than any one of us. And that's what drives us. When is that chat thing going to happen? Will I still be awake by then? It's 8:45 right now. Oh, you want the link? Okay, hold on, R2. I'll get the link to you. Let me get the link to you. I know you're tired, bro. So I don't want to hold on a second. So it's that sort of stuff that for me it's meaningful, because that's what we need. We need meaningful hold on a second. R2, I can't seem to get you. I'm trying to get you. I need to get your channel. Is that your channel? No, that's just your photo. How did I get to your channel, man? For some reason, I can't get to your channel right now. Okay, never mind. I'm gonna find a way to get to your channel and just send this link via inbox. Okay, I'm gonna inbox you the link. Hold on a second. I'm gonna get it to you. Yeah. So I really enjoy those kinds of movies. The thing that made subscribers were here. Community. Yes. All right. The thing that really got me, and let's see here. Can I search it? Oh, come on. What the heck? It's not even in order. Why is that? Why is YouTube so back-fronted, man? I have 900 subscribers. I can't wade through all of them. Oh, God. Really? I have 1,161 subscribers. R2, can you send me the link to your channel, please? Send me the link to your channel. That's how I'll do it. Don't fall asleep on me, man. I only got 11 more minutes. Yeah, so I just wanted to share that with you guys about Krypton. There's a lot more I would say about Krypton, but I think I'll sell them as memes and videos and stuff like that. Right. So what's happening with the DCEU? Still no word on Aquaman. Still no word on Captain Marvel, aka Shazam. No extra words on Shazam. Just very interesting about what Zack Snyder said about Supergirl. Those of you who can be on Vero and see what Zack Snyder is doing, can you send your link, R2 Lemonin, for your channel, please? Send your link. Are you sleeping? You awake? All right. I only got 10 more minutes here. But I just wanted to talk about those things on here on a live stream. It was nice having you guys here. William Miranda, who said, yo, I know some of you are watching this video right now, all three of you. But William Maribel, R2 Lemonin, I may have to wrap up this video in a couple minutes time, but it was really good talking to you guys. Got to go and sell some stuff. My cousin just sent back a feed here. So I got to get to stepping, but try didn't work. When is that chat thing? You can't send your link on this thing. Okay. Put it in the oh shucks. Inbox me the comment then. Inbox me just inbox me anything. Just say anything to me. I'll check my messages, okay? Say anything to me, I'll get it that way. Hold on a second. So just message me. Go into community. Go into messages. And God. Sometimes, man. No. Don't go into community, sorry. Hold on a second. Come on. Stop that. Man, this computer is behaving really dumb. Sometimes you just gotta wonder what's going on. Okay, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, so you just go to my channel and then you will see when you go to my channel. Let's go. Okay, hold on a second. You go to my channel. I'm trying to get my channel. Okay, dashboard. There you go. And show me the channel. There you go. And you go to about, and you should see someplace where you can inbox me. Somewhere you'll see where you can message me, and then just message me the message so I can see it. I'll send you the link. And do something to establish myself and research the settings. Yeah, it's all good, man. And we only got 7 more minutes here. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share with you guys. Again, I'm just mentioning it, that Infinity War did not do that. It didn't. The only person that they did that with was Thanos, his ideology, and then they used the sacrifice of Gamora, which is the high point of the whole movie, in my opinion, to confirm his ideology and what he actually believed. But otherwise, nobody else really. All the deaths were kind of meaningless and empty because they never had any ideologies with the characters. The characters were not pursuing some higher ideal. They were just trying to stop Thanos from getting the stones, which is cool, but it's not. It doesn't really resonate with anything. I heard one person say how they thought that movie was made for kiddies, and I said that's an excuse. That Wonder Woman was made for children in mind. Black Panther was made with children in mind, but they still had substance in them, and I still maintain that. Have you sent the message to me? If not, R2, it's okay. Maybe another time. It's all right. It's okay. You can always try that another time. Oh yeah, I see you now. I see you now. There you go. I got you. All right. Hold on a second. I'm gonna send the link. I don't have much time, so I'm gonna put you to say what you want to say on the feed. All right. And there you go. I just sent the link to you. Yeah. All right. Okay. So R2 is gonna have the floor for a minute to say a couple things, and anybody else who wants to always join this hangout, feel free to join the hangout. All right. Don't got much time though. I got 5 more minutes. So R2, the floor is yours. Once you join, you can immediately start talking. I'm gonna mute as soon as you come in to the hangout. Still waiting on you though. You can start talking one time, R2. Once you get into the hangout. I haven't seen you yet. Have you gotten my message back? I messaged you. Ooh, how many seconds ago? A minute ago. I messaged you a minute ago. You gotta go to what do you gotta go to? You gotta go to your channel settings and to messages. You got it? Well, you got about 3 minutes, bro, and I gotta shut it down. I gotta get out of here. All right, I'm on a clock. Man, I hope everybody's doing well, though. I hope you guys are doing well. It's nice to see R2 in here. I also like to talk to William Ruffin, but I don't know what really William's doing. It would be nice to have a whole bunch of you guys up in here just talking and we having a nice hangout. I'll try and get that done. No, for some reason. All right. No problem, man. No problem, R2. There you go. He's in. What's up, my bro?
Well, this way.
Great, great. You only got 2 minutes, so the floor is yours. You can speak on anything you want to talk about. Anything. Krypton, anything.
I have been watching Krypton, and I have been watching Krypton. Yeah, it's been a good show. What I meant when I said about the CW shows, at that one point is that because they got that mostly about that. Those shows are mostly have about them being more dependent on relationships. It's been more about the relationship dramas and those other things. But then there's the Krypton is not driven by those relationship dramas. That most of those, like 2 years ago, I created a hashtag on Twitter. OECD is cancer because I saw that the forced relationship between Oliver Queen and Felicity Smoke was killing Arrow, and I haven't watched the show for 2 years. That show is dead to me in that respect. And then there was the
Flash.
Then this year there was this season of the Flash. There was that meme created where Iris West said, "We are the Flash." Then that has made the Flash be like, it's not about the Flash anymore. It's about the supporting characters. They should change that show's name to something else.
I totally identify with that. I actually haven't watched The Flash, Supergirl, or Arrow in a long time. And they have also Legends of Tomorrow and all that stuff. I have not been watching nothing.
Yeah, I used to watch Legends of Tomorrow, the first 2 seasons, with a friend of mine. It's on Netflix, and we used to watch it on Netflix. And it's weekly. My friend would come by. We would watch the show. The first season was great. It was good. We liked Randall Savage as a villain. Then there was the second season, which was we didn't watch. We started it together. We didn't watch it to the end together. And then when it was the third season, we both stopped watching it somewhere in mid-fall.
I think people get disinterested in these series because, like Gotham, I mean, I wanted to watch Gotham, and some things were pretty funny with what Bruce Wayne was doing with the bidding and stuff. But I think they lose you when you don't you're getting all these other characters and you're not focused really on any specific character. With Krypton, they center everything around Segel. Segel still gets most of the screen time. So, and the story is forming together. Now we're going to get into understand how the relationships with, say, for instance, Dara and Vex and the Sithonians, and how Nyssa Vex, she's got something else going on there. She has other sisters in other cities. And we're going to move. I'm happy to hear another name of a city, which means they're going to expand outwards from Kandor into other areas of Krypton. I'm looking forward to that too. And I'm invested in Krypton because I think it's more than, like you said, empty drama. just drama between people and just for drama's sake. I think the ideologies is what makes these movies. That's what got me with Star Trek, at least the series with what's the guy's name who was Jean-Luc Picard? I forgot. That's what got me with that, because it's basically
Patrick Stewart.
Patrick Stewart. Yeah, it was great movie. Great television.
Yeah.
But it felt almost like a movie because the drama was built around ideals. And when you do that, now it's cool, because now you can actually relate to some of these things and you can actually apply some of these things. Some of them you can't, but it's interesting, it's insightful. And I don't get that with the CW. I don't get any insightfulness at all. Like, to me, it's just entertainment, and it's kind of your typical superhero entertainment. Arrow is dark for dark's sake, and it's not. They don't have any philosophies behind it. You can't just be dark and gritty. You have to have a philosophy, some kind of philosophy. What is Arrow? When I ask myself, what is Arrow at its essence? I don't know.
There's also the fact about when the character has been Arrow, or now he's branded himself as the Green Arrow. There's a lot when he doesn't actually act like the Green Arrow as the Green Arrow is in the comics. Like this week, there was the DC Rebirth issue of Green Arrow came out this week, and in that he was in some fictional Middle Eastern country helping some rebels fight, and it opened with him wounded in some cave with some resistance fighters who were kids. And of course, he was in a sarcastic way, and a way and serious way that showed his personality, that he was against the idea that the children were fighting a war against people who were tyrannizing that country.
Okay.
And this is actually something funny thing. A few months ago, I found the the modern Green Arrow comics from the early 2000s, written by Kevin Smith. There's this one great panel in it which perfectly well, I think, in my opinion, immortalizes the character of Green Arrow. It's actually him stopping an assault on two guys attacking a woman, and probably also something about my great friend as well. He comes out and shoots an arrow to the guy's crotch and says, learn to keep in your pants, and while you're at it, learn to put your pants on at the same time.
That's that basically is Oliver McQueen, and that's the thing. Oliver McQueen has a sense of humor. That's what a lot of people don't know. He has a sense of humor, sometimes dark, sometimes not. But the thing about Green Arrow that appeals to people, or at least appeals to me, is he's like a modern Robin Hood. That's how I think of him. And Batman's a variation of Robin Hood as well, but I think of Green Arrow as a modern Robin Hood. That's what I really think of him as. He tries to right wrongs, and he's. I never thought of Green Arrow as an organization-bound sort of guy. Like they have the Flash also as an organization-bound sort of guy, and I'm thinking to myself, in the CW, I'm like, Flash ain't that. What are you guys talking about? So for me, it bothered me that Barry Allen was associated with this organization. Cyborg's associated with an organization. Cyborg's associated with
Titans and some Star Labs employees.
Star Labs, right? The Flash, he works on his own, as far as I do know. And then you have the Flash family. So it's all these kind of strange things that have me kind of like, what? And then I never really. Everybody says Grant Gustin is the best Flash out there. I never thought his costume looked like the Flash's costume. I never thought that he behaved like the Flash per se. I know there are different iterations of the Flash, but to me, he reminded me of a jock, a little skinny jock from a high school or something, and not a scientist, not a nerdy guy. He never felt nerdy to me. And I always thought.
Think of the pilot episode of The Flash. They had him. They established his geekiness by having something like that he was geeking out about the Star Labs particle accelerator event, and Iris West particularly, like saying you're such you Barry Allen, you that's a geek, something like that.
Okay, so they verbalized it, but they never showed it, right?
Yeah.
And the thing, that's why I appreciate the DCEU's Flash, because he makes his own suit. You can see he's a heady kind of guy. Everything's not simple for him, and that's the kind of thing you want. He's awkward, but he's heady, and he's a bit funny because the Flash, obviously, because he's so quick, he's going to look a little bit odd. Okay, and that'll be funny. So it's that kind of capturing of the character, in my opinion, that is important. And so I kind of disengaged from the Flash. The first time I saw him on Arrow series, it was fantastic. You know, the Arrow, when Arrow shot the arrow and he came from wherever he came from and caught it. That was fantastic. Okay. But then when I got to know the character, I was like, that's Flash. I was like asking myself the question, was that Flash? I'm trying to reflect on that. I know there's different iterations of him, but some of it just didn't appeal to me. So I kind of disengaged. I loved his.
There's also that they didn't really do much about in the Justice League movie, but there were allusions and the background things that were there that said that, like you just said, he created his costume by himself, and he has a lot of books that on Nikola Tesla and all those scientific sources that shows that he has been researching his powers on his own.
And then
on the CW side we have Vibe's character who constantly calls the Flash suit as his suit, and then there's the, I don't think he has said this in the show quite in a long time, and actually but most of the early seasons and but probably the third in some instances can be summarized as that his thought process works like this: Cisco, how do I use my own powers?
But my point is that I think the Flash in the DCEU, he seems geeky. He seems nerdy. He's certainly not cool. He tries to be. So to me, because I'm a nerd myself, I could see that in him. I didn't quite get that with Grant Gustin. Grant Gustin never seems to be aware of what's really going on. And it's always a whole bunch of other people doing the work, the nerd stuff for him. And he's just testing it out. And that's just, I think it's not Third Rock from the Sun. It's the geeky television series with those nerds. I forgot what it's called, right?
Big Bang Theory.
Big Bang Theory. There you go. And the guy who
that show's Finnish name is Rillit Huurussa, which is pretty much like foggy glasses.
Foggy glasses.
Yeah, foggy glasses.
But you know, the guy who is one of the lead characters in that show, he actually has the Flash's symbol on him. And I could easily see him being the Flash because he's so anal retentive and nerdy, and he's got these dysfunctional things about him where he likes detail. I could see him being the Flash. Really, I could see him being the Flash, being super fast and just odd, you know. And I'm not saying the Flash is odd. He doesn't have to be. Barry Allen doesn't have to be odd. But I'm just saying, if you're a forensic scientist, won't you be like, a forensic scientist would be a germaphobe, wouldn't he? You know, these are just weird things I would think about. He'd be a germaphobe. So I could see how this guy could be that, because he's got that odd thing. He's a germaphobe. I think he's a germaphobe. So I'm just saying, that's the kind of thing I'm thinking about. If you really think about the Flash and what he is and what he represents, you kind of see how those things fit in. And I'm not saying Grant Gustin's Flash doesn't have some of those elements. I just say I don't see it. Like, they say it, but I don't necessarily see it. He seems more to me like a jock than he does a scientist. Because what does he do scientifically? What does he do? What has he done? Has he examined anything under a microscope? Has he done autopsies? He's a forensic scientist. Probably
in the early seasons, but I don't recall myself seeing any autopsies. I don't actually even remember him being in a morgue.
He was?
Not to my recollection, if he has been. They probably had some scientific stuff done to somebody's bodies in the Star Labs, but that's as far as I know. And then, even then, they used Caitlin Bonner-Baker's character to do it.
How could you be How could you be a forensic scientist? You're supposed to be. He's not, because clearly he doesn't spend his time in any forensic science police station. But he's supposed to be a forensic scientist. That's supposed to be his cover, and also what he is. And yet we don't. Most of his television series, we don't see him doing any forensic science. So my point is, we're seeing Barry Allen in Justice League getting into that, and I just feel like these are things, just for me, fundamentally speaking, I would expect of the Flash. You know what I mean? Similarly with Arrow, I mean, I did like the early parts of Arrow. They were trying to make it dark and stuff, and it's cool. But Oliver McQueen, man, he's got humor. He's got, so you can't just, there's just these elements of Oliver Queen, sorry, that they're just ignoring. And so when you look at Gotham, it's dark and everything. There's a little bit of humor in it, and it's appropriate to the kind of story they're telling. But because they brought in Batman so late in the game, I was not interested in it. All right. Krypton, on the other hand, they roped me in from day two. What I mean by that is the second episode really got me. The first episode, I was like, yeah, it's good. I like certain things in it. It's promising, but I wasn't really sold on it. I was interested in the second episode, though. They got me interested enough to get. And when I got the second episode, that's when I was like, okay, I need to see this thing. And they got a lot of parallels between Man of Steel on it, so that's what kind of hooked me in. And so I think television series and comic book movies, I think Krypton is one of the top television series out there. I think that's my personal opinion. Next season will be as good as this one so far. I don't know if they can top that. I want to see where this goes. This obviously has a finite ending. You can't have infinite. Well, you probably could have infinite amount of episodes if you look at different aspects of Krypton. You're not going by a timeline, but if you're going by a time, then again, they could mess around with the timeline, right? Because General Zod's going back in time, Adam Strange going back in time. These guys kind of know certain outcomes which will change the timeline. So maybe they can do that. I don't know.
It's possible that,
but I don't want them to stray too far away from the story.
Yeah, one of the channels that I follow on YouTube called the Appabend. And you used it in one of his video, in one of your early videos. He brought up the difference between the CW shows and the Netflix Marvel series, pointing out how the CW series have about 20 plus episodes, and the Marvel Netflix shows have 16 episodes, right, or less. Yeah, and that way they have pretty much cut out the unnecessary filler episodes.
Right.
And so that depending on how many episodes Krypton gets, it's probably better if they have the better important chapters, episodes, and no filler that no one's interested about, and just I think I can skip this episode. Right now I'm going to Netflix on the Happy show, the show Happy with the exclamation mark. It's about the a former cop who suffered a heart attack and woke up with seeing his estranged daughter whom he has not met ever in his life. His daughter's imaginary friend, who's trying a flying blue unicorn that's trying to ask him to find his daughter who's been kidnapped. It's on Netflix right now. It came from sci-fi also, just like Krypton, and it has 8 episodes.
Interesting. That is out there. I have to.
It's based on a graphic novel by Grant Morrison.
It's like Legion. Legion's a thing that's kind of out there. I'm like on the FX. I'm like, I don't know, man. Legion just kind of has me like, I don't know why I'm watching this. Because I think it's just way out there, too psychedelic for me. I do like the other one, the X-Men spinoff on FX, though. That's pretty good. But I'll Happy. It sounds interesting. I mean, it's just you just stretched my mind with unicorns and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like a blue unicorn voiced by Patton Oswalt that follows Christopher Meloni's character. Is that journal from one of the generals from Man of Steel, the same actor?
Okay. Is it a serious series or is it like?
It's based on a graphic novel, so it's as serious as it can be. But there's the funny element of that. And they have if you're talking like a double act comedy, there's the stooge and the straight man. Well, and probably the unicorn is the stooge, and Melody's character is the straight man whose character who was not like, what the hell are you, fuck off. Oh my god. Watch the trailer. I watched the trailer, put it on my Netflix watch list, and then decided to go watch 3 episodes of it.
So it's kind of like it's quite left field. It's kind of out there. It's kind of That's interesting. That you got me right there. I'm like, well, that's kind of out there. That's interesting. So yeah, I don't mind movies which are just really reckless and just go left field with things. Once it's not some established character I know about that shouldn't be treated that way. Which is another discussion I want to talk about with Infinity War. I know you haven't seen it, so
yeah, I just read the Wikipedia.
But they to me, for cheap laughs, they hurt characters like Doctor Strange and Thor, and they hurt characters like really integral characters, which really suffered a lot. Thor especially, he suffered quite a lot in Infinity War, and they even made Thor poke fun of that. And I thought it was just sacrilegious, in my opinion, how they just really disdainfully treated the character to get some jokes and to get people to enjoy the movie. But at the end, they're doing so much damage, in my opinion, to the psyche of kids, to the psyche of people, because what they're saying is you laugh at people who are suffering and have gone through immense suffering, and you mock them. You know, Star-Lord, he mocked Thor. He started behaving like Thor, mocking him. And I thought that was not funny, man. That's mean. And it's almost like cyberbullying. And it just was weird to me to see them play up that. And it reminded me of what Joss Whedon did with Wonder Woman, where he had, the Flash fall into her bosom and then he wriggles around in her bosom. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
Now, it's funny to people. It's cheap laughs, but it's distasteful. You know what I'm saying? And I saw a lot of that kind of stuff in Infinity War, where sometimes the characters, they really went through a serious ordeal. And what they would do is they would take pathos. So they'd take the joke and then they put pathos together with it. This strong emotion where the actors are kind of overacting the thing for a brief moment in time, and then they break a joke right behind it. And so what happens is you have them overact the pathos, and you got some people go into that emotional thing to create the shock of, I have a joke right after, and then they create the shock where something terrible happens. So that's what they're using. But when you use that technique, the problem with that is you're starting to numb people's minds to the seriousness of the moment. And that translates now into communities and societies. And people now, when they see something tragic happen to someone, they expect a joke after, or they make a joke about it. And they mock it. So I find this destructive, if you ask me, with Infinity War. And that's why I was kind of very appalled by a lot of things that were happening, because we are in an era now in the world where people are becoming more and more mean and more crass. And it's becoming a new normal where you have no ethical lines or anything. You do people whatever you want, whenever you want, once you can get away with it. And I find that just terrible. That's what I didn't like about Infinity War at its crux. Of course, I don't like. I experience mocking and having fun at people, and then consequences to those actions. So in my personal life, and so I don't really enjoy people poking humor or mocking things where it could be dangerous. There can be dangerous consequences to that. So that's what I was talking about with Infinity War. And I found that they've been doing it of late with more regularity with the most recent Marvel films. And I think what Disney's approach really is that they're saying that because people are going through so much stress in the United States of America, this is your way to have stress release through comedy. And it's true, we have comedy clubs, and the comedians say that comedy helps us to examine things and to relieve stress, and we must be able to laugh at things, even terrible things happening. But there's a point at which you have to ask yourself if you're being responsible with the platform. You have little kids watching this stuff. That's the problem I have. And there's nothing wrong with teaching kids to laugh at yourself and at your distresses. But it's another problem when they're heroes, you're actually castigating them and you're really mocking them in your movie. Thor has gotten mocked since Thor Ragnarok. He's taken seriously in Thor: The Dark World. He was taken seriously in the first Thor movie. They realized that approach, people weren't appealing to them. So to get the appeal, they started to mock him. And it's worked.
Thor: The Dark World is actually one of the few MCU movies that I have gone to watch in theaters. The others, if you were, well, the first Guardians of the Galaxy, that one I didn't go to see, and then there was the Black Panther. Those are actually the only Marvel movies that I've gone to see in cinema. The others I streamed later.
Black Panther is an excellent movie. I'm not going to even try it. It's a very good movie, and I want to break that movie down. I think it is the best MCU movie. Second in line, I think, is Captain America: The First Avenger. I think that's an underrated movie, in my opinion. I think it's one of the best Marvel movies out there. And again, what I was trying to emphasize is of late, Marvel has taken this approach where they're using pathos and they're using comedy. And they sometimes do it at odd times. Doctor Strange was an odd movie. I think a lot of people will acknowledge that, where there were some jokes in there that shouldn't have been. There was hits and misses. Even some people said Guardians of the Galaxy 2 had some hits and misses, and they didn't really particularly like it. But the nice thing about both Doctor Strange and Guardians of the Galaxy was there was inherent value in it. I mean, Yondo was by far the star of that movie, Guardians of the Galaxy 2. He took the cake. He stole the show, right? Like Diablo stole the show in Suicide Squad. What's the show? Doctor Strange. Well, I don't know. There was some plot twists and stuff. You know, it was. I guess that's the least strong of them. But when you look at a character that steals the show in each movie, that's something always fantastic. When you have this character you didn't know was going to do something, and then they really flush out that character, and you get the substance of what they're doing. I always find that fantastic. So that's why I love Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I've watched it twice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't watch Marvel films more than once.
Oh.
So you know, Black Panther, I'm going to see more than once for sure.
Okay.
DVD. Yeah. Well, you look like you want to go to sleep.
It's not that late yet.
You sure? Yeah, because I like talking movies with you, man. You.
Yeah, it's good. By the way, about the movies, and when you brought Gladiator up in about your and some other movie that you might want to check out, I could recommend for you to go back into this. Here in my country, in Finland, last November, we got the third filmation of the Unknown Soldier by author Väinö Linna. It's a war movie set in World War II during the continuation war between Finland and Russia. It has been done 2 times before, and this was the newest version, mostly because Finland turned 100 years old independently last year. That movie tells the story of some fictional soldiers who fought in the Second World War II, and there is, like you said, there's the one character that stands out. That same character has stood out in the previous versions as well, and he was very well cast in that film. A soldier named Antero Rokka. He was a veteran of the previous Winter War, and he was called in the continuation war as reinforcements, because you probably don't know my country's history, but the continuation war it's basically a black spot in our history when we were stupid enough to think we could invade Russia. But seriously, but Rokka was basically there because he had to. He showed a very light-sided humor about being there, and that he was there because he was told. He used his military knowledge to do what he had to do, but he wasn't really keen on military discipline. It's
See.
just Unknown Soldier, Tuntematon sotilas by Aku Louhiniemi.
Unknown Soldier.
Yeah, by Aku by wait a minute.
2013.
It's
Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, 2013.
17 by Aku Louhimies. It's a Finnish movie.
Is it 2004?
2017 by Aku Louhimies. It's a Finnish movie, not an American or something else.
This is another movie.
By
who? By Totematon Sotilas?
Yeah, that's it. I don't know if you can find it somewhere, but if you can find it, watch it. And
it's in 1980. It was in 1985.
Oh, that was the second version. Wait, I'll send you the. I'll put the Wikipedia link of it in the chat messages.
That's the second one.
Yeah, that's the second one. There's the newest one. I'll just put here. This side of the screen.
Oh, that's the title. Finland. Cool.
Yeah. The 3-hour movie. It tells the story of the soldiers who fought in the continuation war, which lasted about 4 years.
There's one in 2017. Is that
Yeah, that's the one.
All right, I got him.
If you can find it somewhere, watch it and